Today, our guest host, Professor Nienhauser, will present his second episode. Let us welcome Professor Nienhauser.
The Book of Poetry, Courtship Poems. In addition to the focus on marriage we saw in Taoyao, we also find depictions of courting in the Shijing, in the Book of Poetry, such as the following poem, Qiang Zhong Zi, I beg you, Zhong Zi. This is mile number 76, the second poem in the State of Zheng section, and among the best known of all these 300 poems. It reads,
I beg of you, Zhong Zi. I beg of you, Zhong Zi. Don't cross into my hamlet. Don't break my planted willows. Could I care so much for them? Its father and mother I dread. Zhong, you're embraceable. But the talk of my father and mother is indeed something dreadful. I beg of you, Zhong Zi. Don't climb over my wall. Don't break my planted mulberries. Could I care so much for them? It's all my brothers I dread. Zhong, you're embraceable. But the talk of all my brothers is indeed something dreadful. I beg of you, Zhong Zi. Don't leap into my garden. Don't break my planted hardwoods. Could I care so much for them? I dread others will talk too much. Zhong, you're embraceable. But others talking too much is indeed something dreadful.
Whereas the peach tree young and tender stress the joyous anticipation of a successful marriage and the start of a family, this is a poem of anxious anticipation. The persona, the female persona, may secretly welcome her lover's approach, but she is concerned about the reaction of her family and her village to her love affair. Zhong Zi, literally second son, whom we assume to be the singer's paramour, is warned in lines 1 to 3 of the first stanza to keep his distance. But as the persona tries to explain to him, and perhaps to herself, why she is putting him off in lines 4 to 8, while she's doing that, Zhong Zi takes advantage to come nearer, so that by line 2 of the second stanza, he's progressed from the edge of the hamlet to the wall around her home. The images in these first lines are of transgression, crossing and breaking, reinforced by the sharp consonantal endings. In the classical reconstructed reading, these lines end in egg, a rather sharp consonantal ending. The sharp consonantal endings of the rhymes in lines 1 and 7. It is as if the singer is so focused on explaining her motives to hold off her lover that she forgets to vary the rhyme. If we could imagine a performance of this poem, and I think all of these poems must have been performed originally and had music, all of which we don't have now. But we have our imaginations. And if we could imagine a performance, there would be the potential for the singer to elongate the final syllables in line 1, a vowel ending participle there. In lines 6 and 8, both ER rhymes followed by vowel ending participles. So she could elongate those final syllables as long as they're vowels. Ah, oh. The contrast of these lengthy final syllables to the staccato consonant rhymed lines above that ended in egg suggests Zhong Zi's halting on the syllables ending in stops, then gliding to gain increasing proximity towards his beloved in the long vowel endings. This effect might be enhanced by the singer's perspective. Her eyes look out over the entire hamlet in lines 1 to 3, then seem to turn to glance towards her family in lines 5 through 8. The performer, as she sang, might even choreograph her movements to suggest this change in point of view, first facing the audience, then slowly half turning her back on them in the final lines of the stanza. Yet this is all very cerebral. The singer does not depict for us everything she sees, and we readers, or the original listeners, can only put the scene together indirectly from her admonitions to Zhong Zi to keep his distance. First, he transgresses the hamlet wall and willows. Then, closer, the wall around her family compound and mulberries. And finally, in her foreground, the sandal trees on the border of the family garden. The second stanza begins, as noted, with Zhong Zi now at the wall surrounding her home. Traditional commentators make much of the significance of the three trees the reader encounters, but the image's intended effect may simply be to suggest Zhong Zi's ardor, since the trees that are closer to the persona are larger and more of a barrier. He moves from the supple willows around the village to the denser mulberries at the edge of their family wall to hardwood near their garden. As the distance between Zhong Zi and the singer is narrowed, the effect of his visit widens, going beyond the parents of the first stanza to include all of the singer's brothers here. The rhyme incidence, or the rhyme frequency, is still heavy, restricting the action and thereby maintaining the suspense. Will Zhong Zi reach the singer or not? By moving from the monotonous rhyme scheme A, B, X, A, B in stanza 1 to a slightly livelier one, where the rhymes are A, C, C, A, C, B, D, B. The effect intended may be to suggest an end to the singer's repetitive reverie. The third stanza brings Zhong Zi yet closer to the persona and the reader. Perhaps since we can see him only through his lover's eyes, there's no physical description of Zhong Zi, for she knows him well. Of more importance is his increasing proximity, not his appearance. Rather than a marriage partner, as in Taoyao, here we have an aggressive suitor whose sexuality is the main concern. Now he is perhaps only a few feet from the singer. In this scenario, she speaks no more of family, father, mother, or brothers, who might want to protect her from such a liaison. But she speaks of the neighbors who will want to gossip about her. Through this change of emphasis from family to outsider, she suggests that the embraceable Zhong Zi is sure to live up to his epithet, that is, sure to try to embrace her. They will become the couple which Meng Zi criticized because they, quote, climbed walls to be with each other, and thus will be despised by their parents and the people of their village. Their lovemaking seems inevitable. The trees are not luxuriant and colorful as we saw them in Taoyao, but in danger of being damaged, as is the persona, since there's no marriage involved here, yet. This kind of progression in the Shijing has come to be called incremental repetition, or repetition which changes slightly by increment. And what that does is it suggests a narrative. In I Beg You, Zhong Zi, there are two such repetitions. Zhong Zi physically crashing through barriers and tree branches to reach his beloved, juxtaposed to the singer's widening mental picture of those who will object to his wooing. The result is a chiasma of tension, Zhong Zi approaching in increments and the effects thereof distancing themselves beyond the singer's control, or so she imagines it, her emotions crossing in parallel to the chiasmatic repetitions in her song. This technique is in use throughout the ages in many cultures and can be seen, for example, in the classic country song called Margaritaville, where the singer laments a male spending a season on a Mexican beach, idle and drowning his sorrow in tequila. He first sings, wasted away again in Margaritaville, searching for my lost shaker of salt. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, but I know it's nobody's fault. So it starts off with trying to figure out why he's there, and he said there's no one to blame. Then in the next stanza, wasted away again in Margaritaville, searching for my lost shaker of salt. Some people claim there's a woman to blame, Now I think, hell, it could be my fault. And then the concluding stanza, wasted away again in Margaritaville, searching for my last shaker of salt. Some people claim there's a woman to blame, but I know it's my own damn fault. Yes, and some people claim there's a woman to blame, and I know it's my own damn fault. So here we have exactly the same kind of incremental repetition that from which we can sort of reconstruct what happened to this guy. He's been jilted by his girlfriend or lover and has gone to Mexico to try and get over it by indulging himself in drink. In a similar way, the singer in our poem reveals her ambivalence towards the lover, contrasting her love or her desire with the social repercussions of a tryst. All of this through that incremental repetition. If we assume that, as with any oral song, this one could or would have been performed differently each time it was sung, we can imagine that there may have been much long, and as you could see when I did Margaritaville, that's, I apologize for trying to sing it, but that definitely was a different version. So we can imagine that there must have been longer versions of I Beg You, Zhong Zi, in which Zhong Zi might have forded small streams or stepped through thresholds. Moreover, we can imagine the singer redesigning the imagistic furniture, what was jumped across or the breakable foliage one had to be careful with, all of this to fit with local conditions and audiences. So there may have been a dozen Dangzhongzi for the court musicians and then Confucius to sort through and select.
I hope you enjoyed the talk. Let's relax and listen to a reading of the poems in Mandarin.
诗经正风羌仲子羌仲子兮吾与我礼吾者我庶起其感爱之谓我父母众可怀也父母之言亦可畏也羌仲子兮吾与我强吾者我庶桑其感爱之谓我诸兄众可怀也诸兄之言亦可畏也羌仲子兮吾与我园吾者我庶谈其感爱之谓人之多言众可怀也人之多言亦可畏也